wait around. I see what you're doing.
What is going on, everybody? It is Matt and Coach the FF Mediators. We are excited to be here, ready to talk some football. Coach, how are we feeling today? What's going on?
Man, whoop, whoop. Let's go. I'm ready, man. Let's do it.
All right. Appreciate
Send us
everybody
your
who's jumping in.
questions.
Yeah, send us your questions. Put them in the comments. We're going to get started just a few minutes as soon as we get some comments rolling here. But, Coach, we can't go too far without talking about the big news this week, big fantasy news. Anthony Richardson demoted to backup quarterback. Joe Flacco subs in as your starting quarterback for the Indianapolis Colts. What are your thoughts on that?
My thoughts are that I am not surprised in the least. Like, if you're a Colts fan, you're probably doing cartwheels right now. Like, we've said it since the beginning. Anthony Richardson is not a good quarterback. That doesn't mean he won't be eventually. I don't know. But this shouldn't be a surprise to anyone. He was not a good passer in college. He's not a good passer now. Like, we've been saying this. It could change. He can improve. But right now, today, he's not even close to being an NFL quarterback.
Yeah, I highlighted the other day on X, our very first video we did, he was a sell for us. And that was prior to the season starting. We were kept saying, everybody's trying to sell him or buy him for 3 firsts. And that's just too much for us in Dynasty and regular fantasy football. He was a really, really high draft pick and he hasn't really proven anything. And as a passer, he's got a lot to improve, a lot to develop on. We're not saying he can't do it, but as of right now, he's not doing it. And the accuracy issues, that's something that you just can't correct in a week. Like, that takes time. And a lot of people point to Josh Allen's success. That's the outlier. He's one of the few that have come back from that success issue. But, Coach, I do want to ask you a question before we jump to our first question here. Does it matter to you how much they play in college? What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, like I think that should be like a standard thing. I mean, every quarterback in the NFL was a pretty good college quarterback, except for, I don't know, Anthony Richardson for the most part. Trubisky was the same, didn't have a lot of experience. Trey Lance was the same, didn't have a lot of experience in college. And those things are coming back to bite these teams now. Like, I think the NFL has an evaluation problem more than they have a development problem. Like, the standard should be a guy that can stand back there and sling the rock, because that's what you're going to need them to do in the pros. You know what I mean? They're going to have to be able to stand in the pocket and throw the ball. That should sort of be standard operating procedure. They fell in love with Anthony Richardson and the measurables, which I can understand that. Same is true with Trubisky. Same is true with Trey Lance. And then they came in and they weren't anywhere near ready, and people acted like they were surprised by that. I don't understand that at all.
Yeah. So, well, we appreciate everybody who's watching right now. Please be sure to like the stream, give us a follow, subscribe to the YouTube. We appreciate everybody for being here. Let's get started with our first question. Coach over on Twitch says, "Good evening. Would you trade a late 2025 second for Trey Benson?"
Yeah, maybe. I mean, he might be worth that depending on what I need. Like, if I need help right now, Trey Benson's probably not going to help me right now. But down the road, if I'm making a play down the road, if I'm a rebuilding team, something like that, I would consider that for sure. Because I've mentioned 100 times that there's not tons of value in the late second round in a dynasty draft.
Yeah, I think I agree. A late second for Trey Benson, I think, is about the right price. So I'm comfortable paying for that if you have some sort of conviction on Trey Benson, or maybe you're the James Conner owner and you've got a really good team and you just want to keep that backfield. I get it. So you can make that move. I think that's just fine. Myself, I'm not exactly the biggest Trey Benson believer. I don't know if I have maybe 1 or 2 shares, but yeah, I think that's fine. I think that's spot on value. Albert on YouTube says, hello, everyone. Hello, Albert. Thank you for being here. We appreciate you tuning in. Go ahead,
What's
Coach.
up, Albert? What's up, Albert?
Jared over on Facebook. He's been here every single week, so we can't say without going any further. Thank you for being here, Jared. Says, hey, guys, in a PPR redraft, I need a running back. The other owner needs a wide receiver. He is offering Chuba, Javonte, or CMC. We don't know what CMC will be. Here's what I do know. If CMC's playing, I'm playing him. If you need a running back and he needs a wide receiver, what wide
He's
receivers do you
dealing DJ
have?
Moore,
You're
he
dealing
said.
DJ Moore. Okay. Are you comfortable going after Chuba? I know the breakout and the arrival of Jonathan Brooks is something that we are all waiting for, but it just seems like it keeps getting delayed. Javonte, he's had a decent couple weeks here that he's put together. I don't know how you feel, Coach. Is there a certain one of this group that you like?
Well, I'll tell you, the talk in Carolina right now is that Chuba's on the block. So I think it's possible Chuba could get dealt. So that couldn't matter depending on where he goes. Javonte, I don't even know what to think about Javonte. He's played well. Like, honestly, he's played well lately. I know they haven't played anybody, but maybe he's sort of getting his groove back a little bit. The swing for the fences is CMC. Like, to me, like, if you can get that for DJ Moore and he plays, then you're coming out on top in that deal.
Yeah. For me, I do have a little bit of concern about Javonte. Last week was Carolina. It was a positive matchup. He had 17 carries, which is a good amount of carries, but he only got 44 yards. So that's just over 2.5 yards a carry. He added 4 catches, for just 8 yards. I have some fears that maybe it's touchdown dependent. 2 weeks ago he had the 26 points, but he had 2 touchdowns. So that's 12 of the 26 right there. So I'm not exactly the biggest Javonte believer. I never really have been. Coach and I co-manage a dynasty team that is currently thriving because of guys like Javonte. It's kind of funny. We thought we were going to be rebuilding, and here we are, and we're in, what are we, second place?
Yeah, we won like 8 in a row or something. Javonte's been a big part of that.
Yeah. So yeah, we'll take his contributions, but we've certainly been shopping him if we can try and get an upgrade. Gonna welcome in Tyler here, folks. Tyler is now joining us. How we doing, Tyler? Oh,
hello.
Hey, what's up, Tyler? Nope, might have some technical difficulties. We'll get those fixed out. But for now, we'll jump to our next question from Paul over on YouTube. Says, hi, guys. Would you trade Shakir for Downs? Not sure what fair value for Downs is at this point. Thank you. I think Downs is someone that I'm interested in, especially with Flacco playing.
Well, I would make this trade in redraft, but I would 100% make this trade in Dynasty.
Oh, yeah.
Downs' upside is really, really high. I mean, I think Shakir's a nice player. I mean, Shakir's a useful player, but Downs has much higher upside.
Yeah, I think so too. If you can add Downs for just Shakir, I would absolutely do that. Like Coach said, regardless of the format, I think that's going to help your team. Josh Downs is kind of been sneakily underrated in my opinion, and I think there's a world where he can kind of become the Colts wide receiver 1. That might be a little controversial to say with Pittman being there, but let's just look at his box scores from the weeks so far this season. Week 4, 22 points. He had 9 targets, 8 receptions. Week 5, 15 points, 12 targets, 9 receptions. Week 6, 9 targets, 7 receptions, 66 yards. Week 7, only 3 targets, 1 catch. But then last week, 9 targets, 109 yards. Like, he is involved in this offense, man, and he just gets peppered with targets, and he's a nightmare in space.
Yeah, and as a Michael Pittman owner, it's been really frustrating because of Josh Downs' come up. Like, he has went through the roof, and Pittman has been unplayable. Like, I never would have thought Pittman would be unplayable at this point. But so far this year, he has been virtually unplayable for my fantasy team. So I'm frustrated by that. Flacco helps, though. Flacco helps.
I think Flacco does help. I completely agree. But, well, thanks everybody for being here. If you're here, please be sure to put your comments and put your questions in there. We will jump to those as soon as we get some more. But, Coach, I have to ask you, What did you think of the trade that I did today where I traded Chase Brown for Darnell Mooney and a third?
I think it's just dependent on what your team needs at the time. I like Darnell Mooney. The guy's played unreal. Falcons are slinging the ball around everywhere, so he's getting a lot of targets. Chase Brown though is another guy too that's on the come up as well. Like he's getting a lot of touches now in Cincy. He's taking over that backfield. So I actually like it's one of those deals where I think it helps both teams. I think that's the key if you're making a deal. Like I can't really get on either player, either owner for that. So I think it's a win for everybody.
Yeah, I think so too. I think both of us could benefit from that trade. He needs a running back. Myself, I could use some wide receiver depth. Didn't really need a running back too bad at the point. But we've got our next question here from Christine over on YouTube. It says, "What's up? In a 12-man standard league, I'm fourth in points, but in 10th place as I'm 2-6. I feel you there, man. Same thing in one of my leagues. I got a hold of Cedric Tillman, and is anyone you could compare him to so I know who to target for in trades?" Interesting question there. Um, wow. What do you think about Cedric Tillman, Coach? Is that someone you're comfortable with starting on a weekly basis? Let's just start there.
I think so because there's not a lot of competition anymore. When Cooper left town, like Cedric Tillman became the guy, and he has played really well. And Jameis Winston also boosts his stock. Like Jameis Winston can throw the ball better than Watson right now. So I do like Cedric Tillman. What do you think?
I think we need to at least consider the possibility of him being a real player. I mean, 2 weeks ago when he had his first real chance, he had 82% of the snaps, 12 targets, 8 catches, 81 yards. That's pretty dang good. Then he comes in last week, 90% of the snaps, 9 targets, 7 catches for 99 yards and 2 touchdowns. Now, obviously, the touchdowns are fluky, so those can ebb and flow. But the targets is what's really interesting to me here. 21 targets in just 2 games. That's a lot.
Yeah, I mean that gets your attention. You know what I mean? Like, so my question for Bristany here would be, do you need a receiver? Like, what are you looking for? Do you need a running back? Do you need a receiver? Like, let us know if that's what if you need a receiver. I might be playing Cedric Tillman right now.
Yeah, I agree. Throw in the chat what your team is, and we can walk through it and see what possible moves there might be to make, whether that's involving Cedric Tillman or someone else. If you had to come up with a comparison, Coach, who would you compare him to?
I mean, I think his comparison actually is a little bit of maybe Shakir, somebody like that right now. There he says, which two wide receivers should I start this week? Devontae Adams, Tillman, Waddle, and Reed. I do like Reed this week for sure. He's got a nice matchup. I like Reed a lot
Yeah,
this week.
I'm going to start Reed in that situation too for sure. All right, where do you fall on the next three there, Coach? Waddle, Tillman, and Devontae Adams. I mean, the Jets are in a must win. Like I feel like we keep saying that every single week, but here we are, and they've just been awful so far.
Yeah, like I'm not Devontae Adams would be the least of these four for me. It'd be Waddle, it'd be Reed, Waddle, Tillman, Adams for me in that order.
Yeah, I think I'm probably in the same boat too. It's a little scary of playing Tillman. We've only got 2 game sample, but at the same time, you got to take that risk at some point, especially with this team. I mean, you said you're 2-6, so you need wins. And what we know right now is Cedric Tillman is getting targets, so I'd probably at least debate putting him over Adams.
Well,
Waddle is.
I was gonna say
Please
I
go
was
ahead.
concerned with Devontae Adams stealing some of Garrett Wilson's love, but then Garrett Wilson has one of his better days of the year last week. He had over 100 receiving. Like Garrett Wilson's still the best receiver on this team, so I think Adams is at least the number 2 guy. So I mean, that's my thoughts there.
Yeah, and Waddle last week, he had 4 receptions for 45 yards, only 6 targets. So I am a little concerned, but I think Tua coming back helps this team. Buffalo's pretty good, so I expect them to score some points on this Miami defense. And that might lead to a shootout, which benefits Waddle.
Yeah, I totally agree. And the offense, like you said, I mean, the offense took off with Tua. As soon as Tua became the quarterback, like we said this last week, like maybe Tua's better than he gets credit for. Like the offense looks
Mhm.
completely different when Tua's taking the snap.
Yeah, I think so too. Um, like I said, I don't think he gets enough credit. I mean, he does a lot for his team, and when he gets on the field and can play, he's got playmakers everywhere. Like we saw A Chain what he can be when, uh, he's there. So I really like him. Pete, what
Yep,
is up, my
I'm with
friend?
you.
Glad you're here. Happy you're here. Um, if you guys are not following Pete, please be sure to go follow Pete. If you need a defensive stream, he is the guy for that. Dude's on fire.
No doubt.
Let's try this again. Tyler, can you hear us this time?
I can hear you now. Can you hear me?
We can
Hey,
hear you.
hey.
Technical
There we go.
difficulties solved. So excited to have you here, Tyler. How you doing tonight?
Good, man. Other than those technical difficulties, had me a little frustrated there, but we're good. We got it figured out here. Let's talk some football.
Hey,
All right.
I got questions for both
Mhm.
of you here before
Yeah.
we more stuff rolls in. How do we feel about the Deontay Johnson trade to the Ravens? A, how do you feel about it football wise for both teams? And then B, how does that change anything fantasy wise?
Tyler, you want to go first?
Yeah, sure. So I think football wise, I think it's a great move. You get a wide receiver that can get open, get targets, like just be that possession person that you need to allow Lamar to throw the ball a little more. I think it's a good, like I said, football move. Fantasy wise, doesn't really move the needle for me. It's going to be hard trying to find a spot for him in fantasy. Hurt everybody else around him though.
Yeah, for me, I think Deontay Johnson is. I think he's a really good player. I think he's underrated by a lot of people. Um, eh, do I think that it's a good football move for the team? Absolutely. I think it is. Bateman's had plenty of time to shine, and unfortunately, it's never really come to light. This year has been a little more exciting for Bateman so far. I mean, he's got one, two, three double-digit games on the season, but let's not mistake it. I mean, he had that drop last week that just killed them. And that's kind of been the history of Rashad Bateman so far this season. Um, they need a stable force, and I think Deontay Johnson can do that. I'm not too worried about his involvement just because Bateman has been decently involved, and I think he's better than him. Um, Deontay Johnson can immediately step in and be not only a first down mover, because right now they're just constantly throwing little bubbles and screens to Zay Flowers, and I feel like that's not helping them um, in the way that they want it to. They need someone to take the threat off. Yes, Mark Andrews has come back alive. Derrick Henry is Derrick Henry, so we don't need to say anything about him. But fantasy, I think it's okay. I don't think it kills him because let's not forget he was thriving in the Panthers offense. That's not exactly the best place to be. But I'm curious, Coach, how do you feel about it?
Well, I think as I'm not a Panther fan, but being around Panther fans and being in this area makes me. I do not understand how all you get for Deontay Johnson is a pick swap. I do not understand that. Like we gave you the sixth, you gave us the fifth. Like, come on. I thought he was better than that. Like, I think he's better than that. Surely you could have got a pick outright. I would have thought, but fantasy wise, I don't know. Like he just falls right in the middle. Like if anything, I think it might hurt his value being in Baltimore. There's a lot of mouths to feed now more than there were. Lamar Jackson's not necessarily a guy that's going to stand back there and spread it out like crazy. And so I mean, I don't know. Like I don't love it. If I'm a Deontay Johnson owner, I would have hoped he went somewhere else, to be honest. But that's just me.
I won't lie. I mean, the Ravens' destination shocked me. I was not expecting that at all. So
Yeah.
I'm with you. I would have liked somewhere else, but it's what we got. So it's what we'll roll with. I do want to jump to Fletcher's comment down here and says, "You hyping up Deontay when I just traded him in Swift for Cook." Well, it's a good thing that probably all three of us would agree that was a good deal. I'd rather have Cook. I know Coach would rather have Cook. Tyler's shaking his head yes. So that's a good deal, my friend. Be happy you took that.
I do like Swift though.
You do like Swift. Fletcher also asked us, guys, Kelsey or Otten for the rest of the season? Tyler, what are you picking?
I think contrary to popular belief, I'm gonna have to go Kate Otten here.
Ooh.
He's probably what, second fiddle in the offense, if not the number one. So I think I'd have to take Otten so far.
Coach?
I passed it to me next. I see how it is. I see what you did there.
I'm setting you up.
Yeah, I, I know. I think it's I think I would take K Dotton. I can't believe I just said that out loud, but I think I would take K Dotton. Like he's gonna be the guy.
Join the
He's
club.
surpassed Kelsey in targets. Now he's played a game less. Gosh, I love both of them, but I think I'd take Otten.
I mean, on 10 targets last week, 10 targets the week before, 9 catches, 8 catches, 81 yards, 100 yards. You can't ask for much better than that. Give me Otten. I'm going to jump on the train and just hope for the best. Pete says new camera, new computer, Pete. Difference. I think it's a good setup, so we'll roll with it. But Pete does ask us, says, guys, let's do a dynasty value check. Najee Harris and James Conner. If you're a contender that needs a running back, how much would you be willing to pay to go get one of these guys? Let's start with James Conner, just because I know that's Coach's guy. He's been buying him on a lot of his contending teams. What would you pay right now if you could go get him?
I would pay a second right now for James Conner. I'd pay a pretty high second at least for Najee. Maybe a late first, depending on how bad I want to win. I think Connor's just because he's younger than Connor. I think that's right. Isn't he 27, 26, 27, and Connor's like 29, I believe.
James
right?
Conner is 29 and
Yeah.
Najee is 26.
Yeah. So he's worth a little bit more, and he's been playing extremely well, especially with since Russell Wilson's been back and opened up the passing game a little bit. Najee's been going off. I may even pay a late first for Najee, somewhere in a second for Connor, and I'm definitely going for Connor. Like that's the guy. He's right. I've been buying Connor, and no, Pete. I think he's the new computer. It's giving a nice glow to his balding head.
Hey, you know what? I'll keep what I can have. It is what it is. It's there for now. It's being lost every day. But that was a cheap shot there, Coach. All because I said, nah, she's not worth the first. But for me, I think Najee is definitely a good buy if I'm a contending team and I need a running back. I'd probably pay a second. James Conner, probably about the same. But I'm only doing it if I know I'm competing and going for a chip. I'll pay a second. Tyler, what about you?
Najee's probably an early second for me. And then I would say Connor's probably a late second. If I could get him for 2/3, I'd do that though.
See, for me, I wouldn't pay but a late second for both of them. That's crazy. Wow, there you go. Different value, folks. Um, I feel like the Pittsburgh backfield between Najee and Warren. I think both of them are going to be involved, and both of them are going to be around that double-digit points every week. But I don't think that they're going to be winning you weeks, and that's what I'm chasing. If I'm contending, I want to try and win my week, and I think that Connor can do that. Connor can score 2 touchdowns, and he can have 80 yards and 6 catches. Like that's well within his wheelhouse. But I do want to ask one question to Coach really quick. You mentioned Russ. How much has he opened this passing game? Because in my eyes, I feel like it's a lot.
I mean, I hate to say this, but with him playing quarterback, you start to wonder, like, can this team make a push towards the AFC title game? You know what I mean? Like, we already know their defense is phenomenal, but their passing attack has been opened up somewhat. Now, it still wasn't amazing, but they moved the ball consistently the other night. They didn't get in the end zone the first 3 or 4 trips, but they moved into the red zone, at least 3 of those. I mean, I think it's worked wonders for Pittsburgh, and Mike Tomlin made the right move, and it's proven itself.
You're muted.
Thanks. I mean, props to Tomlin for making that move. I mean, he told us he's paid to make that decision, so he certainly did it. They're 6-2. Russ is getting better each week. It's an evolution for down the field, moving the ball for the Steelers. It's just different, and I don't think Fields can do that. Props to Fields for you know getting that team in position and running the ball and going all over the place. I just don't think he's as refined as a passer as Russ, and that's no slight to Fields because he's proven that he's willing to be in the league and he'll do whatever he can to be in the league.
Yeah, I was just looking at point differential on the season in the AFC. Buffalo is a plus 84. Second place would be Pittsburgh at plus 68. So their point differential is higher than the Chiefs. It's higher than the Broncos. It's higher than the Ravens. Like, they've played good football. Like, everybody's sleeping on them. This defense is elite, man. They've gave up 119 points total on the season. The only team to give up fewer in the AFC is the Chargers, oddly enough.
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned the defense. They're playing lights out between Watt, Hightower, and Joey Porter Jr. Like, they're just flying around. You also got Minka back there. So the defense is good. But let's jump to our next question, guys. Derek over on YouTube says, trade Josh Allen and Monty for Saquon. He has Dak as his backup or could add Stroud/Tua from the waivers. PPR, he's 5-3. His running backs are A-Chain, Gibbs, Monty. His wide receivers are Garrett Wilson, Reed, Higgins, Deontay, and Shakir. Tyler, are you willing to trade Josh Allen and Monty for Saquon?
No, not even close. Honestly, I understand the backup, but Dak hasn't looked great necessarily. I find it weird that Stroud and Tua are on the waivers. This has to be like a 8-man league or something very small. You already have Achane and Gibbs. Are you really going to play Saquon over either of them? Like, I feel like at this point, he's going to be in your flex at best.
Coach, what about you?
Yeah, no, and I agree. Like, it's not close. Josh Allen is so dang good, man. Like, Dak has been horrendous. Now, I do think Dak's getting better. I actually just tried to buy him in a league yesterday. Best I could. I struck out. But, like, I mean, I see a world where he's going to get better, but he won't be near Josh Allen down the stretch. Like, Josh Allen's just worth so much to me.
Yeah, I'm with both of you guys. I mean, Allen's had a few down games this season, but I mean, the guy is just a walking 20 points. And while I understand that Saquon's having a great season and he's running all over the place, Tyler's exactly right. You have A-Chain, you have Gibbs, you have Monty. You're fine. Your wide receivers between Wilson, Reed, Higgins, and Deontay, that's also a good course. I'm comfortable with those guys on my unit. And I don't really want to sacrifice Josh Allen and Monty for just Saquon. I think you can get a lot more than just that. And as to Stroud and Tua being on the waivers, Stroud is a surprise to me. Tua, not as much. I was actually able to pick up Tua in one of my redraft leagues. That's pretty competitive. So it's possible, people have to win. So sometimes you got to drop the guy who's been on IR or whatever the case is. But for us, Derek, do not do that deal. Try and get yourself a little bit more. All right, Coach, question for you. Romeo Doubs or Deontay Johnson rest the season?
Man, this is a tough one. Like, Dobbs has played. We were hating on Dobbs a couple weeks ago, and Dobbs has played really well since. Gosh, it's a hard one. I'm thinking Dobbs. There's still a lot of mouths to feed, but Green Bay seems to be getting the ball to him and Jaden Reed. Like, Deontay, there's even more mouths to feed. I think you're going to see Mark Andrews continue to get a lot of targets. Yeah, I'm going to go Dobbs, I believe. And not feel good about it, by the way.
Tyler, what about you?
I would go with Dobbs here pretty easy, I think. Like Coach said, they're feeding him and Reed at this point. So I don't know what Deontay's going to be in the Ravens offense. And we've already talked about how it may hurt the fantasy value all around. So just give me Dobbs. That way I'm not playing the game.
You know what, Fletcher? You can go with the majority here. You can go with with Dobbs. I'm going with Deontay. I'm still not sold that Dobbs is what everyone wants him to be. Yes, he had 18 points 3 weeks ago. He had 13 points 2 weeks ago, but last week he only had 8.7. I mean, 6 targets, 3 catches, 72 yards. That's good, but I think that Deontay Johnson's better than him. I feel like they're almost the same type of player, but give me Deontay Johnson. He's proven. And I think that the passing upgrade is going to be surprising to us. Like, yes, Lamar, we can critique whether his efficiency is inflated or whatever it is. But here's what I know: he's a better quarterback than whoever the Panthers are rolling out. That's what I know. And Deontay's been putting up points. So I'm going to follow Deontay and roll with him.
And he's a big Deontay believer.
Hey,
Always has been.
Can't help it. Can't help it. Can't help it. All right. He's a good wide receiver, man. He's good. But let's
I
jump to our
didn't
next
say he was
question.
bad.
Hey, that's fine. That's fine. I'm not hating. You guys chose Dobbs. Just remember that. Rest of the season, who finishes higher at the end of the season? Romeo Dobbs or Deontay Johnson? Are you guys saying Dobbs?
I think they're in the same
Yep.
range. But I'd say
I will
Dobbs,
bet
yeah.
you whatever pizza you want from your hometown that it's Deontay Johnson. Your pick. There you go.
All right.
Jumping in on the
Sold.
face-off pizza
Sold.
bet. That's what it is. But you guys are buying me some Hall's Pizza from OKC once he finishes lower. All right, let's
Okay.
jump to our next question here over on Twitch. It says, yo, I traded up for Cup, Swift, Pitts for Hurts, Wilson, and Goddard. Richardson has sold my season so far, and my team is pretty stacked now. So what are our thoughts, gentlemen? Coach, let's start with you. Cup, Swift, Pitts for Hurts, Wilson, Goddard. How you feel about that trade?
Well, Hurts played really well last week. I like the Hurts and Wilson. Pitts and Goddard, I don't know. Pitts played pretty good last week, but Pitt's target numbers are not like everybody seems to think they are.
I like Kyle Pitts. I said in our buy sell video that I'd be buying him. You know, I know he only had 5 targets last week, but he scored twice. The week before that, 9 targets.
Big add on there at the bottom. He says, I don't need Pitts. I have Bowers. I love the trade.
Oh, yep. All right, then you've changed the game there, my friend. Yeah, Bowers is very highly touted in this group here. We've been touting him as the dynasty wide tight end 1, excuse me. And you know, he's unbelievable. For as young as he is and athletic as he is everything we want Kyle Pitts to be and way more.
By the way, Pitts is 10th in tight end targets on the season through 8 games. Ferguson has the same amount of targets in 6 games. Just
There
FYI.
you go.
Listen,
Tyler,
real quick. If there was ever a player that we were going to have the same like love for, like you do Deontay, it's Jake Ferguson with Coach.
yeah, Coach.
100%.
Yeah, Coach is a big Ferguson believer there. You know, my question about this team is I would love to know the rest of your team. So if you're still in here, please be sure to let us know, and we can kind of break it down a little bit more. I'm interested what your record it is since you had Richardson. You know, we talked a little bit about Richardson at the start of the stream. It's a lot to break down there. I think as a core, we might believe that Flacco is better right now. But we also all believe that if we were the Colts, we'd probably be playing Richardson just to try and develop him, despite our beliefs of whether he is or is not good.
I think the problem there, though, is that Colts are in that realm. I mean, 4-4, you can make the playoffs. You can't walk in that locker room every day as the coach and look at those players that think they can make the playoffs and have a chance here and keep running out a guy that they all know is worse. It's just is what it is. If they were 2-6, it's different.
Yeah, I completely agree. Tyler, as a Colts fan, how are you feeling?
It's been a whirlwind, honestly. I kind of agree with what we're saying as far as Joe Flacco being the better quarterback, him giving us the better chance to win currently. I do agree with that. My issue is we drafted Richardson as a project. We knew he was going to take time to develop, and they said we're going to give him time, we're going to let him play, And while he hasn't looked great, I feel like he's improved a little bit. Maybe not much, but I feel like he's improved throughout the season. So I feel like him sitting behind Flacco is a good way to learn if he knows the right questions to ask and he puts the work in. Honestly, the only reason why I would say put Flacco in there now is the whole controversy of tapping out. Never seen a quarterback do that ever. And so I think that's a big thing, for me. Just how do you go to a team and say, oh, well, our quarterback tapped out on a third down in a game for the AFC South lead, late in the game. So, like, that's not a great message to the team. But I don't know, man. I'm torn. I don't think the team is like Super Bowl worthy at all. Can we make the playoffs? Sure, but it's probably going to be a quick exit, and I don't know. I might rather have the development at that point. It's a tough situation to be in.
Yeah, I think so too. I think you're spot on there with your analysis. I couldn't agree more. Um, a lot's going to ride on these next few weeks. If they win, then it's going to get really interesting. If they start losing, then I think they'll rotate back to Richardson and just kind of let him develop from there. But I think to Coach's point, you got to give this locker room something to at least try. Because I also think there's a world where Steichen's coaching for his job. Like he needs to go out there and get wins. I mean, this team was 9-8 last year, and not a lot changed on their roster. So, they think they can win. But let's jump to our next question, guys. Another Twitch question says Cedric Tillman or Jahmyr Gibbs for the flex, Downs or Higgins for wide receiver 2, Hurts or Stafford for quarterback. Tyler, who are you picking between Tillman and Gibbs in your flex? I think I know your answer, but go ahead and let us know.
It's Gibbs all day, every day. Not even a question.
Gibbs for me too. Coach, how about you for that flex spot?
Yeah, it's Gibbs. They're playing the Packers, which I mean they're an okay. I don't hate that, but then Tillman, the Browns are playing the Chargers, which give up the fewest amount of points in the AFC. Part of that's because of their offensive style too. So I'm going Gibbs, just in the explosion ability.
Yeah, I mean, here's something for you too. Gibbs and half PPR, just because that's what I have pulled up right here. He has not had a game where he scored fewer than double-digit points.
Yeah,
that's unbelievable, and he's only playing half the snaps. And I mean, part of that is because this team is blowing everybody out. So give me Gibbs. I'm going to chase the touchdowns, chase the big plays. As far as the wide receiver 2 spot, Josh Downs or T. Higgins. Man, T. Higgins has to be the most frustrating player to own in fantasy. But, Coach, who are you starting between the two of those?
Higgins plays. I'm playing Higgins. I mean, that's where I am. I like both of them, but if Higgins is good to go, then I'm putting him out there. But you're not kidding about him being frustrating. Oh my gosh.
And it's tough because when he's playing this year, he's good. Tyler, what about you? Are you going Downs or are you going with T. Higgins here?
Part, like you said, with Higgins has been the injuries and everything, and because of that, I don't want to have to sit here and play the game of, oh, he's going to play, but then he plays 20% of snaps because he got hurt again. So just give me Downs. He's going to play, and Flacco with the upgrade there. Just give me that. I don't even want to have to worry about it.
Yeah, that's fair. I can't blame you there. I think for me, man, who did you say the Colts are playing this week?
The Vikings.
Yeah, I think I'm going to roll with Josh Downs here, especially with the injury situation with T. Higgins. Just don't know what to trust. As for the quarterback spot between Hurts and Stafford, although I love Stafford, love to watch that guy play football, I'm not sure there's a more entertaining quarterback. And I just mean truly watching the quarterback. But I'm going to go with Hurts just because of the fantasy upside for him is just different. Coach, what about you?
Yeah, like Hurts, just the running ability. I mean, you saw that last week. Like I think he had 36 or 38 fantasy points last week for us in the league we co-manage, and like his rushing upside is so much greater. You almost have to put him out there.
Yeah, 35 points last week. Tyler, are you rolling with Hurts too?
Yep.
Hurts it is. All right, Let's jump to our next question. Fletcher
Hey
Cox
guys,
says,
as the line gets longer, super chat right here. If you need to jump the line, you need us to answer a question, maybe you're in a hurry or something, feel free to send us a super chat and we'll get to your question next.
yeah, we also, again, we appreciate everybody for being here, listening to us. If you got a question, throw it in the comments. We'll get to it. We try to answer every single question until the end of our show. If you're still here, please be sure to like the stream, give us a follow, subscribe to the YouTube. It helps us a whole lot. We really appreciate everybody for being here. But let's get to Fletcher Cox's trade here. It says trade Baker, Kelsey, Rashad White for Josh Allen and Cade Otton. Would you do this deal, Tyler? Shaking your head, yes.
Yep.
All right, Coach.
Absolutely. Right now, run, hit, smash, accept right now.
I think I'm kidding. Yeah, I would do it. That's a silly trade. Go get Otton. Go get Allen. They're the better players. No disrespect
Run, don't
to
walk.
Kelsey. Yeah, run, don't walk. Be safe. Daniel says, should I keep DK as my wide receiver one? That's a tough question, Daniel. His other wide receivers are Higgins, Debo. How comfortable are you with that, guys? I mean, if this is a redraft league, I think that wide receiver core is fine. If it's dynasty, I would certainly be thinking about making some moves. Coach, are you comfortable with DK as being your wide receiver one on the team?
No, I'm not. Like, I feel like you need a little bit more. I do like Debo though, but most underrated wide receiver in the game. I like Debo a lot. Higgins makes me want to pull my hair out, like end up looking like Matt over here. I mean, you just don't know from one week to the next. Like Sunday morning, Higgins is not playing. Like it feels that way all the time now. So no, I think you can get a little bit for DK too. I'd consider tearing off of that. Some people just think he's the greatest receiver ever. One of them might be Matt. One of them might not be Matt. But
I mean, I like DK, but I traded him in the offseason, then I traded for him again. So it's kind of a love-hate relationship there. But before I kick it to Tyler, I do have one question for you, Coach. With this wide receiver room of Higgins, Debo, and DK, he says, should I keep DK as my wide receiver one? Would you say that Debo is the wide receiver one in this group? Yes?
yes, absolutely.
All right, there you go. That was
Not even close.
silent
Not even
sass
close.
that I just got, guys. I get this all the time. Coach just giving me the side eye. Welcome to the club, Daniel. I should have asked that. That's on me. Tyler, what about you?
Honestly, I like the wide receiver room. I like DK a lot. I think it's as long as they can stay healthy. I think it's a solid wide receiver room. If somebody wants to give you a wide receiver in the same tier from DK, and maybe something on top, sure, go for it. But at this point, just I would hold on to it.
Yeah. All right. Want to switch it over here to Trill says, send us a super chat. We appreciate the super chat, Trill. Thank you for sending us that. Let's break it down, fellas. Trade Tillman for Madison. He's hurting for running backs. Let's also think here, if we had Tillman, was there anybody else you'd think about moving him for? Coach, I'm going to start with you because you were being rude. Tillman for Madison, would you do it?
Man, it's an interesting one because we actually tried to trade for Madison last night. We spent a long time trying to get a deal done for Alexander Madison, believe it or not. If it's redraft, yes, I'm willing to do that. Dynasty, then I might hold on to Tillman for the upside down the road. Just being honest. Like Madison's going to be the one moving forward, I believe, for the rest of the year. I mean, he already is, but in Vegas. So I like Madison. I don't think Madison's a great player, but I do think he's a useful player. But if it's dynasty, I might hold on to Tillman just to see what he is. Redraft, I'm willing to do this.
Okay, that's a fair question or fair analysis, I should say. Tyler, would you do Tillman for Madison?
I think it depends on what your team looks like. He says he's hurting for running backs. I wonder if that is like he doesn't have 2 starting running backs currently, like they're injured or something. If that's the case,
Yeah.
sure, you can make the trade. But if you're trying to like just move him for value and you're like, well, you want depth, I would wait and let Tillman get another game under his belt and go up from Madison there. I mean, we've talked about it earlier. Like, could you take Tillman if he has another good game? Could you take and go get Chuba? I don't know, maybe. You know what I mean? Like, go get somebody in that tier who's not necessarily Madison, and we don't have to bank on the Raiders' offense.
Yeah, I do have a question for you, Trill. If you're still here, let us know who your running backs are, or even let us know your team, and we can kind of break it down a little bit more. But for me, I do wonder: can you move Tillman for something better than Madison? Um, I think Madison's a little bit capped. He's running back 25 on the year. He had 66% of the snaps last week, 14 carries for just 15 yards. He added 5 catches for 29 yards. That's not exactly solving your running back issue. I almost wonder if there would be a better option on the waiver wire for you. I'm not sold on Madison. Personally, I have been trying to avoid the Vegas backfield. Yes, coach said we're trying to trade for him in another league, but in that league, we're hunting like playoff depth pieces for our team that we can start if something happens. He was kind of the throw in too. Would you say, Coach?
Yeah, probably. Well, what do you think he can get for Tillman?
Well, that's the good question. If right now the best offer is Madison, then the market is what the market says. Do I think that I could move him up and go get a Chase Brown? Maybe. Can you go higher than that? Can you convince someone like Ramondre? Does that interest you?
I think the name I jumped out at me was Brian Robinson Jr. I mean, that's a guy like I would like to go get if it was me.
Yeah, I mean, you might have to bust out your mediating skills here, Trill, and really hammer down on his last 2 weeks and, sell the pitch. He adds that he's got Mason and Kenneth Walker at running back. So Kenneth Walker, that's a great start there. Mason, not as great. It's not as been as fun the last few weeks. And, we've got Christian McCaffrey just kind of feeling like he's lurking in the background, just ready to jump in at any moment. So you certainly need some help. But I almost wonder, Clip says, what about a guy like Bucky Irving? I like Bucky Irving. Everybody knows that. So I think that's something that I would explore is, can you go higher than Alexander Madison?
Yeah, you can go higher. How much higher? I don't know. But Najee, that may be, to me, that's about as high, possibly. Name value alone might make that difficult. But that's why I like Brian Robinson Jr., especially in that offense. Like, I like that.
Yeah, and his wide receivers are Marvin Harrison Jr., Flowers, and Wilson. So a good trio right there. I would see if you can't get something higher, my friend. Is J.K. Dobbins too high to shoot, Tyler?
It may be close. A name that I was trying to look. Madison's the running back 25 on the year, but running back 26. So I think that's a good name to point out, whoever that was. I think another interesting name too that you might could actually get done would be like Tank Bigsby. I mean, with ETN being hurt, he's played well. I think that one's a little more doable. Shoot, if you could go get ETN, somebody's disgruntled with ETN, go do that. I think there's some running backs there though that you could target that doesn't necessarily have to be Madison.
Yeah. Well, this will be my last offer here. I would think about Tyrone Tracy. I mean, Tracy has taken over this backfield. I think the days of Singletary, he's going to take the back seat, guys. I mean, every single time Tyrone Tracy touches the ball, it just feels like he's got the juice, man. Like, he can make moves, he makes people miss, he can catch the ball. Like, he is good at everything, and he's only been playing running back for 2 years. 2 years. So that's somebody that I'm trying to get on any roster I have. I've got them all over the place. I know Coach is a believer. I think Tyler's a believer. So Tyrone Tracy's the name that I would be thinking about too. And I think that's probably something you can get done with Cedric Tillman. But let's jump back to our questions. We'll get back in the line here. Let me find my spot. And I believe we left off right here. It says, should I trade Tracy and Addison or Waddle and Addison for Olave? Full PPR. He already has DK, DJ, London, and Evans. So Addison basically has no value for me. Tracy is my RB3 behind Gibbs and Bijan. Coach, let's start with you here. Should he trade Tracy and Addison or Waddle and Addison for Chris Olave?
I would probably trade Waddle and Addison. Like I would hang on to that third running back for me. Like I think Tracy is just only ascending. I think this is a hard one. It really is because Tracy's really seems to be ascending in the right direction. Like I don't mind trading Addison at all. Like I'd move that dude in a heartbeat. So,
Yeah.
yeah, I think I'm saying Waddle.
Tyler?
I agree with Coach on if you're going to trade one here, I think you got to hold on to Tracy. I know he's in concussion protocol. I think we got that note today. So he may not play this week, but for having the depth, I think you'd rather keep him. For me, I probably wouldn't trade Waddle and Addison for Olave. That's just because I think Waddle and Olave are kind of in the same tier. And explosiveness. If you want Waddle to be in your lineup, with Tua back, that's great. We're still waiting on Olave to do anything with Derek Carr. So, and he's still not even back yet.
I mean, you guys kind of know where I fall on this. I'm not really sold on moving Waddle and Addison for Olave because kind of like what Tyler said, I don't know what you're adding. Because I do have fears that Waddle and Olave are almost a wash. So then you're sending Addison in my mind for almost free. Olave's got a lot to prove. I mean, we give him a lot of hype and a lot of tout as this big name wide receiver, but I think he's just a back end wide receiver too. I mean, year one, he was wide receiver 25 on the year. Last year, he was wide receiver 19 on the year. This year, he's currently wide receiver 48. Now, I understand that he missed one game and he had another game where he got hurt on like the first drive, but I'm still not sold that he's the elite prospect that we kind of want him to be. And also, this offense has been struggling recently. So for me, I'm not really interested in that deal. If I was doing either, I would do Tracy and Addison just because it's in my mind cheaper, but I'm still not doing it either. Like Coach and Tyler said, I think Tracy's value is just going to rise. He's your RB3. You've got a solid wide receiver room already. If I'm moving Addison, which I think is fine, I would think about bolstering my roster elsewhere. That's just what I would do.
Yeah, and you got to feel really good about this running back room. And for me, like ideally, you want obviously your wide receivers and running backs to be elite, but you got to feel really good about at least one of them. You know what I mean? And you got to feel pretty dang good about this running back room right here.
Yeah,
I'd be really hesitant to get rid of any of those three.
Gibbs and Bijan together is just a dynamic duo. You add Tracy into that Mitch, who's kind of an ascending running back. Just last week he had 22 points. The week before that wasn't great, but the week before that he had 19. And then the week before that he had 13. So he's someone that I want on my team if I can get him. Derek over on YouTube says 12-team league. Stroud dropped this morning. That's kind of crazy. That's kind of alarming. Coach is making a face. He looks like an owl. I don't know. Tyler, are you dropping Stroud in any league?
No.
Nope.
No, and I'm sprinting to the waivers to claim him.
Well, we know that's not going to be very fast. Anyways, let's move on here to. Sorry, Coach. I love you. All right. So now he has Hurts, Amon-Ra, Wilson, Kyron, Bowers, and Brian Thomas. CMC will be my flex once he comes back next week. I'm trying to trade DJ Moore right now, though the bench looks like Deontay Tillman, Richardson, and Goddard. How do we feel about this squad, guys? I think the duo of Amon-Ra and Wilson is nasty, just targets galore. Kyron and Bowers, great players. Obviously, BTJ is awesome, and CMC coming back is only going to help this roster. Tyler, are you looking to make any moves? Are you shopping DJ Moore here?
If I'm shopping DJ Moore, I'm going after a running back. With the rest of this roster,
Was he trying to trade for DJ Moore?
Oh, he is.
Excuse me, he is.
Sorry,
he is. I read that wrong. That's my fault.
I mean, you can probably go after DJ Moore. I don't really see the need right now. unless you're worried about Brian Thomas being hurt. But I think he's day to day at this point. They said his scans weren't as bad as they expected. So I would go after a running back if your only notable running back is Kyron. That's where the hole I would try to fill, even with CMC coming back. I think that gets a little interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Coach, what about you?
Yeah, I'm trying to upgrade my running back room. Or another thing that would concern me a little bit is who's my backup quarterback. Like, if you have Richardson, you might not have one at all right now. That would be the concern. Like, me and Matt actually had this conversation last night. Like, what happens come playoff time if something happens to Hurts? You're in the fantasy playoffs, and now you have no one to play. You know what I mean? Like, you may not have go get a great quarterback, but you got to have somebody you can put in the game, or else it's over.
Yeah. He adds here in the chat that he really likes DJ Moore's playoff schedule. I mean, looking at week 17, he's got Seattle. 16, he's got Detroit. 15, he's got Minnesota. 14, he's got San Francisco. So a decent schedule for DJ Moore. He's wide receiver 29 on the year. I don't know how much I'm going to pay, so I'm not sure what you're going to offer there. But, if DJ Moore's your guy, go get him.
Real quick, I was scrolling down. He says this is a one running back league, by the way. So you only have one running back in the roster anyway.
Okay,
that's
well, that
why
kind
it's
of
like
changes
that.
things. Okay, yeah,
Mhm.
that changes some things here. If you've got Kyron in there, then I feel pretty comfortable with CMC being on the team as well, especially if he can come back. I mean, question for you guys now. CMC's back. Are you benching Kyron for CMC, Tyler?
No, not first
Nope.
week.
Coach?
Yes.
Ooh, taking the shot?
And only because the Puka thing bit me in the butt last week. I'm just
That
saying.
it did.
Like,
Hey, we play
cost
the
me a game. It
superstars.
cost me a game.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think you got to trust the superstars if they're activated and healthy. I can't fault you for trying. Appreciate everybody for being in here. Be sure to like the stream. Keep firing away your questions, and we'll keep answering them. We'll be here for about another 30 minutes or so. We'll try and answer everybody's questions. We appreciate you being here. Be sure to subscribe to the YouTube as well. And we shall carry on with Derek here. He says, loves Josh Allen, but don't love the lack of rushing upside this year. Dak's schedule down the stretch is also really strong. I believe this is in relation to the comment above. But, Coach, are you worried about Josh Allen at all? I don't think I am.
No, I'm not. I like Allen.
Yeah, I think he'll be fine. Tyler, you're not too worried?
No, not at all.
Yeah. Then let's carry on here to Andrew's question over on YouTube. It says, start the Browns, Lions, Titans, or Patriots defense this week? Excellent question. Tyler, do you have a choice between those?
Well, the Patriots and the Titans play each other, so that could be a very low scoring affair. You could probably take a dart through. The Browns play the Chargers, and the Lions play the Packers. To take any of those, I'd probably take the Browns. I think would be my bet there.
Yeah, Coach, what about you?
Yeah, I'm thinking the Browns. I'm looking at the Chargers. Just don't really score points. Points for on the year. They're third in the AFC. It is really low. Yeah, I think I'm going Browns because they're playing the Chargers.
Yeah, I think I need to add, be sure to go follow Pete at Supernova on X. He does a DST video with Face Off every single week. The dude is on fire. He keeps hitting teams that are below 25% roster chip. And, for him, I think that it's worth looking into the Browns. I'm kind of going to jump on the train there with those guys. It's tough with the Lions playing as good as they have been recently. I'm tempted to say the Lions, but I'm kind of curious when the fall off is going to happen because I think eventually they're going to start missing Hutchinson.
I think this could be a shootout too. I think it could happen real easily.
Mhm.
Yeah, I think that's well within the possibility here. But let's jump to our next question here. It says, should I trade James Cook and Josh Downs for Bijan? Um, Coach, you're the Bijan guy here. I think you like him the most. What would you do?
I do like Bijan, and he's playing a lot better also the last couple of weeks. I was frustrated 3 or 4 weeks ago on this same live, and now I'm like pumped I have Bijan. But at the same time, I like James Cook just as much or more. So I'm hanging on to James Cook and Downs.
Okay. He adds that he's got Cook, CMC, JT, Garrett Wilson, DK, Puka um, as his starting unit
Yeesh.
here. Tyler, what's your thoughts on this trade of James Cook and Josh Downs for Bijan?
I would hold, like Coach said, I would hold on. I think James Cook is playing well enough, and especially if you're about to get CMC back and you have JT, I don't think there's really any need to upgrade there. If you're going to do anything, you've got DK, Puka, and Garrett Wilson as your wide receivers. Uh, I mean, Josh Downs could just be a good solid flex spot for you. So, but by the way, before we move on, uh, if you guys need to jump the line for anything, like we said earlier, hit a super chat. We'll get you moved up to the front of the line. We'll answer your question, and we'll hop back to our questions here in the line we've got.
All right, Bray. I do have a question for you, my friend, if you are still in here. I do like James Cook and I like Bijan, but I think there is a little bit of problem with giving up Josh Downs because you're moving from Cook, who is running back 7 on the season, and moving up to Bijan, who's running back 6. So I'm not sure how much you're gaining. While yes, I do think that Bijan's the more explosive athlete and the better running back per se, I think Cook's involvement is not going to change. I mean, they're running the ball like crazy. He's scoring touchdowns like crazy. He's just in a good offense and in a good situation that I'm not sure I'm going to pay to move Cook and Josh Downs to just get up to Bijan. I would kind of want something in return. Like maybe that's a situation where you get Bijan and Tillman or something like that. You just do a little swap, like a tier swap.
Well, and Cook missed the game too. Bijan's played them all. So,
True.
I mean, he's
That's a good
essentially the
point.
same guy.
Yeah. I'm just worried that that's not exactly the best move to make. But certainly if you have conviction on that, then by all means do your thing. Clip says, should I trade Tyrone Tracy for Josh Downs? Tyler, what are we doing here? You trading Tyrone Tracy?
I
Mm.
think that depends on the team. If you have the appropriate running back depth, sure. Um, if you're on the fence, like Matt said, we've seen Tyrone Tracy be explosive, and he's taken over, that backfield here pretty much recently. So as much as I love Downs, and Flacco coming in is going to help him out, I might stick with Tracy if if I didn't have the depth there.
Coach?
Yeah, context is everything here, right? Like, what's the makeup of your team? I would hang on to Tracy. Like, I just think for me, top end running backs are harder to come by. Like, I know the world's gone wide receiver heavy in fantasy, but I'm still a little bit old school in this because I just think top end running backs are hard to come by. You may have stumbled into one with Tyrone Tracy. That's just
Yeah,
my thoughts there.
I agree with Coach there too. You probably could have left it at you're just old, not old school. But anyways, we'll carry on here. Epic fail. Welcome back, Epic fail. We're happy to have you here. You've been here every single week. Superflex, Flacco or Winston, rest of season. Also, would you start Flacco over Stroud this week? What a crazy time to be alive. Coach, who you starting rest of season, Flacco or Winston?
Man, alive. That's a hard one. Anybody got a quarter I can flip? Um, that's a tough
I,
one, man. Like I'm going, I'm going Flacco.
okay. Tyler?
I actually have this same dilemma in one of my leagues, trying to figure out if I want to start Stroud tomorrow night against the Jets or play Flacco. Um, I tend to lean Flacco right now. I'm not gonna lie. So I would take Flacco over Winston rest of season. But I don't know. It's tough. It's
Well,
hard to put that out there into the universe, man.
I haven't projected like their schedule out that far, but I'm imagining that the Browns are still going to play the Ravens again one more time, and Steelers at least one more time or two. And I'm just thinking division, you know, only. I think I'm taking Flacco for that reason.
I think that's fair too. I mean, obviously, this rest of the season hinges on two if Flacco's going to get to be the guy. Because if they're winning, he's the guy. Like I said earlier, if they start losing, I think they'll quickly jump back to Richardson and just let him develop and finish out the year. Rest of the season, though, I'm with the crew. I'm rolling with Flacco just because of the options around him. I mean, here we are talking about whether Cedric Tillman's real or not. What we do know is Michael Pittman and Josh Downs are pretty good. Jonathan Taylor's pretty good. So I'm going to roll with the established guys and, hope for the best. As for this week, I'm closing my eyes and I'm playing Stroud. Trust the process. Tank Dell, my friend, we need you this week. We need you now or never. He has got to prove something. Coach is praying too. I mean, Tank Dell, it's just crazy the fall off he's had. I'm really hopeful he can get things back together. I think the health has been a little bit of an issue for him, but we'll just have to see. And I'm going to roll with Stroud. Trust the process.
Texans are 2-point underdogs on the road against the Jets tomorrow night.
Ooh.
That's how banged up they are.
Yeah, that's tough. Let's jump to our next question, guys. Here, I just can't even think about the Jets right now. That makes me want to vomit. It says if someone asked for Jefferson and Jameis to get Lamar in a super flex, would you do it? Daniels is my other quarterback, and my other wide receivers are neighbors Deontay Waddle and Tank Dell.
Someone asked for Jefferson and Jameis to get Lamar.
Tyler, do you have any immediate conviction here? I'm still thinking about it myself. I like the idea of having, that's kind of where I'm leaning because I like the idea of Lamar and Daniels, but I feel like you need Jefferson more than you need Daniels right now.
Yep.
While Daniels will certainly score you some points, again, we just were praying about Tank Dell. We've been talking about is Deontay Johnson better or worse now? Here's what I know for a fact right now. Justin Jefferson is the best player in football that does not throw the ball. So I'm rolling with Jefferson. Coach, what about you?
Yeah, same. Like if you're really interested in what we think about Tank Dell, we've got a heat check video on our YouTube you can check out. We go do a deeper dive into Dell and what we're thinking moving forward with him. But I'm with you. I'm on the Jefferson side of this.
Yeah, and I'm curious too, since we've got a bunch of people in here. Put in the comments if you want us to do a heat check on someone that you have on your roster. We've done several different videos. We have a playlist over on our page at the FF Mediators. We also have these videos on the Face Off Sports Network, so be sure to go watch those. Let us know your thoughts or any players that you think we should do a heat check on next, because we're really enjoying looking at these players and seeing whether we should be buying, be selling, holding, whatever we're doing, whether it's redraft or dynasty. We're talking about those players and what you should do for your fantasy teams. But let's jump to our next question, fellas. So he was offered Adam, Swift, and Kincaid and JSN for Tyreek and Pitts. Should I do it? My running backs are Brees, A-Chain, and Monty. 3 wide receiver, 2 running back, 1 flex. Coach, are you doing this deal?
I offered Adam, Swift, Kincaid, and JSN. Yeah, probably. Wait. Yeah. Yeah. In redraft, I'm doing that. In dynasty, I'm probably hang on to it. Redraft, yeah.
Tyler?
Tyreek, what's Tyreek's value right now? Like, what do we think? Like, I don't know. That's an interesting thing right now.
Dynasty or redraft?
Both.
I think dynasty. Go ahead, Tyler.
No, you're fine. I was just trying to think. I was trying to piece it together in my head. I mean, I would easily pay Adams, JSN, and maybe add Swift into it with those running backs to get Tyreek at this point. That's just alone. So then
But he's got enough running
Kincaid
back
for Pitts. You know what I mean? Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, you've got the running back depth. Why not go get Tyreek, who, as long as Tua's healthy, you're getting the best player in the deal. We talk about that all the time. You want the best player in the deal. As long as it's not a gross overpay, you just want the best player in the deal. It happens all the time. And so if Kincaid and Pitts are a toss up here, um, I say go get Tyreek. Now, one thing we do have another issue here is he does have Achan. Um, being on the same team, if Tua does go out, you're taking 2 hits instead of 1. But that being said, we're hoping for no injuries. That's what we're going for. So you can't predict those anyway. Just take Tyreek and Pitts and go with it.
Yeah, I tell these two a lot when I'm playing fantasy and I'm thinking about trades, and like they said, you're going for the best player. Tyler makes a great point of same team as A Chain. Does that bother you? Here's what I know is when I'm trying to make a trade and I'm doing something like this, I'm trying to win the league. At a certain point, you got to push your chips in and go for it. And this is the type of deal in my mind where you're saying, I'm going for it. You've got a great running back room, despite whether this trade gets accepted or not accepted. I think upgrading from JSN to Tyreek Hill or Adams to Tyreek Hill is going to help your team. I think Pitts and Kincaid, is that a wash? Maybe. But also at the same time, Coach, while I'm sitting here talking, can you vet if where Pitts is in comparison to Kincaid on the season? I'm not sure where they fall, but I feel like that's a good trade for your team. Coach, you raised the point of what is Tyreek worth in Dynasty. I think he's probably worth a late first. I'm a little hesitant on trading for him, but I'm also not opposed to it if I think I can win the championship. Redraft, it's kind of all over the place, but I think this value is kind of where I would fall. Like Swift doesn't really do much for me. You're not going to play him over the guys you have. And I've already said, I think Tyreek is an upgrade over JSN. It's not been great, but I think Tua is going to change this team. Coach, did you get anything for me on those tight ends?
Yeah, Kincaid's tight end 12. Pitts is tight end 4. Some of that's essentially that Kincaid has more targets. Pitts just has gotten in the end zone. I mean, ultimately, that's what it's come down to. But now, Swift, there's no better time to move Swift than right now. I mean, he's playing really, really well. The best probably he's ever played in his career. Getting more volume than he's ever gotten. So can that hold up? I don't know. I mean, I think it can hold up the rest of this year, yes. But it still puts him down there with those other guys. So I would do this deal. I don't think you're losing
Swift,
anything with Adams and JSN, really. Like,
yeah, I don't either. I think it's kind of a wash, to be honest. But you're spot on. Swift has 4 straight games of double-digit points, and at that over 15 points, just in half PPR. Again, that's what I've pulled up. But I don't know. Is Swift real? Coach, you're the Bears fan here. You kind of had some love for him in the offseason. You kind of talked about buying him in some dynasty leagues. Is Swift a sell for you right now?
I mean, I think Swift's real for the rest of this year until something changes in that offense. Like, they're going to keep giving him the ball. Like, there's nobody else in the backfield that's nearly as explosive as him. I mean, he took that one of the house the other day. I mean, the guy's fast. He can roll. Roshan's just a different kind of back. So until something changes, like they're committing to running the football to help Caleb Williams develop. And we've seen that, and so Swift's going to keep getting it for a little while.
Yeah, I agree. Well, let's jump to our next question here, guys. We've got Ali says, would you trade Cup, Tracy, and Stafford for Lamar, Waddle, and Bucky? And would you flip Cup and Tracy for CMC? Well, let's start with the first trade here of Cup, Tracy, and Stafford for Lamar, Waddle, and Bucky. Tyler, are you doing that deal?
I'm gonna say yes. That's gut feeling. I would say yes, but it's close.
Coach?
It matters to me whether it's redraft or dynasty. Like, if it's dynasty, then I definitely would rather have Lamar, Waddle, and Bucky. That's where I'm at. Redraft, I think I still like the Lamar side of this, to be honest. Like, if I want somebody to win me one football game as a quarterback, I'm taking Stafford. If I want somebody for the rest of the year in fantasy, I want Lamar Jackson.
Spot on. I think regardless of your format, for me, it's the Lamar side. I really like Tracy, but I also love Bucky Irving. Everybody in this group knows that. Waddle and Cup, certainly I'd take Cup this year over Waddle, but like Coach said, Lamar is just a difference maker in fantasy, so I'm going to go with the Lamar side there. But let's flip that question around, guys. Would you flip Cup and Tracy for CMC for the rest of this season, Tyler?
I wouldn't. The only reason I say that, listen, we've seen CMC when he is on the field and he's healthy, he's elite. How many times have we seen McCaffrey go out because of an injury and he's already dealing with both Achilles, not just one, both Achilles right now. Like he's had that soreness or whatever it's been, and it's kept him out for what? We're on week 9, so half the season so far. I don't want to take this chance on trading for CMC, him playing for 3 games, and then it's Jordan Mason season the rest of the time because he gets hurt or something else. Plus, we've also had this discussion, I think maybe privately. I don't know if we did it publicly in a video or not, but what happens if the 49ers, like, they continue to lose games? Where do they even sit right now? They're on a bye, so I can't look at it currently, but they are okay, so they're 4-4. I mean, that's great now, but they've lost Debo's hurt, is also hurt. So
Well, it looks like we kind of lost Tyler there for a second at the end. But I think you're onto something there of, while I did say a minute ago, you push the chips in and you go for a guy like Tyreek. When you go for a guy like CMC this year, it's a little bit different because he hasn't played at all. So you run some risk there if you make that move. But I can't fault you if you think that's the guy to put you over the top. We're never going to fault you if you make the conviction choice. But we're wrapping up here, guys. We're about an hour 15 in, so we've got 15 minutes left. If you're still in here, throw your question in the chat, and we are going to start rapid firing, going through these questions and kind of hitting them pretty quickly. So if you're here, throw them in the chat. We will certainly answer them, but we'll start jumping through them. Get to our next one here, guys. Pittman, Bucky, Tillman, and Wandale. Pick 2, coach.
Tillman and gosh, this hurts me to say out loud. Tillman and Bucky.
Let's go. If you guys knew how hard that hurt him to say, I love it.
Well,
Tyler,
the guy, the Wandale thing frustrates me. Wandale got like 5 targets or something last week and had 30 yards. And Tillman and Bucky.
That's what he does. He gets 100 targets and gets 7 yards. It's kind of his thing.
Or he had 5 catches. He actually had 5 catches. Sorry, not targets.
Okay. Tyler?
I'm going Pittman and Bucky.
I think I'm going Tillman and Bucky. While I like Pittman as a player, I think that Josh Downs is the better wide receiver right now for the Colts. So I expect Josh Downs to perform a little bit better with Flacco. I really like Bucky. I think he's a really good running back. And then Tillman, I'm going to chase those targets. I think that Jameis Winston is the guy that we know that once he finds something, he hyperfixates on it and he just feeds the guy. So I kind of expect him to just feed Tillman, and I'm going to chase those points. Let's hit Thomas's question over on YouTube. Says CeeDee Lamb and Devonta Smith for Nico Collins and Malik Neighbors. Wow, what a trade. That's a big-time deal. Coach is shaking his head no, so we're going to let him go first.
Nah, CeeDee Lamb and Devontae. I don't even think it's that close if it's just redraft. If it's dynasty, that's different. Neighbors was just last week. I mean, obviously he's a budding superstar. I get that. But if it's just redraft, give me CD and Devontae. Devontae got going last week. Yeah, that's where I'm at.
Tyler?
I think I'm going to agree with Coach on this one. The names kind of threw me off at first. Like you said, if it's a dynasty trade, this is a whole deeper conversation than what we can do now. But redraft, I'd take CD and Devontae, I think.
I think I'm a little bit more bullish than the two of you. If this is dynasty, this is easy for me, and it's Nico and Malik Neighbors. Malik Neighbors is dynasty wide receiver 1 for me. Nico, I think, is a top 10 wide receiver, if not a top 5 or 6 wide receivers. So I'm going to take those two. Rest of season, redraft, I'm with you guys. CD, Devontae, give me those two. Go ahead,
This is
Coach.
dynasty. If this is dynasty, it's still not easy. It's not
Really?
like
To
CD's
me, it's
30.
easy.
It's not like CD's 30 here.
I also want to point out that Matt just said Malik Neighbors is dynasty wide receiver 1, and that's even over Justin Jefferson, and I have an issue with that. So
Yeah, he's out of his mind.
I'm not out of
I
my mind.
can't.
He's 21 years old, and he has played out of his mind with Daniel Jones, guys. Daniel Jones.
Mhm.
I expect. Yes, I think JJ's good. I think him and JJ are in a tier by themselves because they're both just always open. Like they just the ball snapped and they're open. It's how they play ball.
Well, CD Lamb's 25. He's
He's
got 3 more easy
I'm not
years.
I'm not saying CD's bad. I didn't say he's wide receiver 20. He'd be like wide receiver 3 for me. So I certainly agree there. But if you can net 4 years at the wide receiver position and, in my mind, move up a tier between Neighbors and Lamb, I'm going to do that. You're getting Nico for basically free in my mind. I'm just saying. I know that's a little outlandish. You guys will come around. They'll be here in about a year. So just give them time, guys.
We didn't say he was bad. There
Oh,
you
that's
go.
what I'm saying about CD. I'm not saying he's bad. I'm just saying, give me Neighbors, man. He's that good. Let's jump to Thomas's next question. He says, CD Lamb for Neighbors and Swift. Trade half PPR. Go ahead, Coach. You've got this one. He's going to say CD.
No, I'm not, because you get Swift.
There we go.
Like,
Swift
I
is the
think.
needle.
I think my point was that Lamb and Neighbors are close. Like,
sure,
that's close.
I don't disagree.
Swift's a good plus. There you go.
Sure,
Neighbors and Swift.
But if this is redraft, would you do it?
Possibly, yeah. I think so. Depends on what I need. If I need a running back bad, if he makes my team better, yeah.
That's what I was about to say. Tyler, what about you? Are you doing this deal?
Yeah, I agree with what Coach said.
Yeah, I think if I need a running back, I will do it. If I don't need a running back, this is just some kind of random throw in, and this is redraft. Like I said, I'm keeping Lamb over Neighbors for the rest of the season. But I mean, if you need them, then you need them. So give me Neighbors and Swift. I don't think that's too bad of a tier down there. Epic Fail says PPR, Tank Dell or Josh Downs this week. Tyler, what are we doing?
Josh Downs.
Josh Downs. Coach?
Tank Dell. This is the week. Tank Dell.
It's because there's nobody else
Tank
left.
Dell. I'm kidding. I would take Downs, but I'm praying for a Tank Dell week. I'm praying.
You know what, Coach?
I'm praying it's a Tank Dell.
You had me sold for like 2 seconds. I was like, you know what? I'm going to say Tank too. So I'll be the lone wolf over here. Give me Tank Dell. I'm going to ride the hot streak here of scoring a touchdown last week where he did. If I've got him, I'm starting him.
I mean, my team, I'm starting him.
I'm starting him like this. I'm closing my eyes, but I'm going to try it. I do think Downs is probably the better or smarter play, but I don't know, man. I do have some concern of this Indianapolis team switching to Flacco going into Minnesota. I mean, is Brian Flores going to get that defense humming? It's possible. I don't know. But let's jump to our next question, guys. We got a few rolling in here, so we'll start speeding these as we finish up. Thomas says, thoughts on trading Kittle high, Coach?
It's a great time to sell Kittle high. Kittle has scored 6 touchdowns. The next highest tight end's Cade Otton with 3. Like, his touchdown rate is not going to continue like this. Yeah, trade him now.
Trade him now, he says.
I love Kittle. Trade him now.
Tyler, you trading Kittle?
Trade Kittle while you can. He gets hurt every year. Yep.
Hasn't happened yet. You're right. I mean, he's tied in 1 of the year, 6 touchdowns, 49 targets, 40 receptions, 503 yards. So he's certainly having a good year. I would be open to trading him if I can. Also adds, would you trade Pacheco? What value could you get for him? Tyler's shaking his head. No, you're holding on to Pacheco?
Yeah, I'd hold on to him. Just when he plays, his value is going to go up. At this point, hold on to him if you're going to trade him. and let that value come back up. I don't see any need to trade Pacheco though. He runs angry.
And this team
Yeah, man.
misses him. I think they miss him.
Bad.
Coach, are you holding on to Pacheco here?
Absolutely. I really like Pacheco.
Yeah.
And if the Kittle question was dynasty, I'm definitely trading him. Like, hurry, trade him now.
Yep. Go to those contending teams, try and move him. I think I moved Kittle for a first last week in a league, so I'm perfectly comfortable with that. Pacheco, if you were talking dynasty value, I think it's probably somewhere around a second. And I would be buying if I can, but if you've held on to him this long, I think you might as well just keep waiting until he comes back. But let's get to Chaka's question here. Coach, he says, would you trade Amari Cooper for Tracy and Chase Brown? It's a PPR redraft. Other wide receivers are Cooper Kupp, Puka Nakua, T. Higgins, Brian Thomas Jr., Olave, and DJ Moore.
Heck yeah, I love your wide receiver room. Take those 2 running backs.
Tyler, shaking your head, yes, you in agreement?
Yep.
Yeah, I think I'd do the same thing. I think I'm going to roll with this trade here. I like those 2 running backs, kind of taking 2 different dart throws. While also having a great wide receiver room. So do that if you can. Epic Fail says half PPR. He needs to sit 1. Tank Dell, Wandale, JSN, and Cedric Tillman. Who are you benching, Tyler?
That's Waddle, not Wandale. Come on
Oh,
now.
excuse me. Sorry.
I'm
All
just
this
messing with you.
Wandale talk has got me rolling.
Yeah, exactly. I would bench JSN here, and I don't really think it's that hard.
Okay.
Yeah, I agree.
Ooh. The JSN man says sit JSN. That's surprising. Okay. Even over Tank Dell, despite the struggles.
Yep.
All right. For me, I think I'm going to sit JSN as well. Sorry, anticlimactic there. Harsh says, is Lad McConkey a sell high candidate? I have CD, Cup, Waddle, and McConkey as flex. Is he a league winner down the stretch? I'm going to answer this question before these 2 goons do. Yes, he is. Lad McConkey is real. He is a buy for me. He is not a sell. Lad McConkey is really, really good. And this was his breakout game. I'm all for Lad McConkey. Coach, you laughed at me, so you're up next.
No, like I just it depends on what you can get for him, right? Like, what do your running backs look like? Can I go get a higher end running back for McConkey? What's the rest of your room look like? Context matters. I mean, I don't hate McConkey, but I would definitely explore what's out there.
Tyler?
I'm in agreement with you. I would buy McConkey if I could. I think it only goes up from here. I wouldn't sell him unless, like Coach said, you need to fill a hole somewhere else. That's the only reason I would sell him.
Yeah, I just feel like Lad's kind of being slept on a little bit. He's performed really, really well. He is dominating in man separation. Like, it's just absolutely unbelievable. Why are you laughing at me? What's funny? All right, let's hit Sam's question here. He says, should I drop Tank Dell for Josh Down? I think we've had about 10 questions of Tank Dell or Josh Downs, and I'm starting to forget who I'm picking now. Coach, who are you going with, Tank Dell or Josh Downs here? Would you make that waiver wire move?
Not this week. Like, this to me is the week we're gonna find out whether Tank Dell can get it done or not. Like, this is a huge week for Tank Dell with Diggs and Nico both out. Like, Dell needs a big week. Like, he really, really does. So I'm gonna roll Tank Dell one more week and see.
I feel like there's probably somebody else you can drop, right? I mean, I feel like both of these guys should be rostered, and I don't like either one of them hitting the waiver wire. Tyler, do you have a preference between the 2?
I would probably take Josh Downs. The only reason I say that is because as much as I want Tank Dell to be good, and I know this is the week for him to hopefully break out or re-break out, whatever. Nico's going to come back at some point. He'll be the wide receiver 1. And if Josh Downs really is the best wide receiver the Colts have and he's going to be the one, I'll take him rest of the season.
Yeah. I think it's tough. I think I'm going to hold on to Tank just with the offense concerns, but I do think that if you can try and find a move to get Josh Downs on your team, you need to do it. I don't know who else you have, but I would explore finding a way to get on him and get him on your roster, because I think rest of the season, if Flacco plays, he could be a fantasy league winner in my eyes. PJ says, Cup or London, rest season going into the playoffs. Tyler, what are we doing here?
I would probably go Cooper Cup.
Coach?
Targets are king.
Targets are king.
London for me, easy. Puka is the wide receiver 1 in LA. London's wide receiver 1 in Atlanta. And they're slinging it everywhere. Give me London.
That's a great point. Coach, you brought up on one of our videos about how, these Falcon pass catchers are just dominating targets. Like, London is wide receiver 6 on the year. I think I'm going with London rest of the season. Kirk Cousins is slinging that ball. He's playing really, really well. This team is in contention for the division and in contention for getting into playoffs. 3.
Falcons have 3 dudes with more targets than Devontae Smith.
3. So I think, like Coach said, we're going to chase those Falcon pass catchers because, I traded with Tyler today to get Darnell Mooney. So we'll see what happens there. Minnie asked, did y'all answer my question? Got hit with like 6 ads at one point. It could have been there. I believe we did, my friend. So if you want to go back and rewatch it, or if you let us know which one real quick, then we can kind of highlight it pretty quickly here as we're approaching the end of the stream. Michael Lopez says, Wilson or Winston rest the season, Coach?
Wilson or Winston?
I'm assuming Russell.
Yeah, Russell Wilson, I think.
Tyler?
I would go Jameis. Give me the Twitter clip guy.
I like that. Get the motivator. I'm going with Russ here. He's got that offense rolling.
Yeah.
All right. Last few questions here, guys. We've got Epic Fail. He says, is it crazy to consider Ridley over Amari Cooper this week? It feels like the Bills are spreading the ball, and Cooper could be seeing a lot of Ramsey. I don't know, but Ridley probably gets Gonzalez. Coach, do you have any preference between these two?
I mean, Mason Rudolph made it very clear he was going to throw the ball to Calvin Ridley last week. He got 15 targets. That's why I like Ridley this week.
Yeah. Tyler, are you in agreement?
Yep.
I think I am too. I mean, like you said, the Bills are spreading the ball all over the place. They've got a great run game. So I'm going to see if Ridley can repeat that there because these two kind of feel like the same player almost. Let's hit our next question here. It says, full PPR, flex, Tank Dell, or Chuba? Tyler, who are you picking?
I'm going to point out this real quick. You got to make this decision quickly. You don't want a Thursday night football player in your flex spot. So if you are going to play Tank, put him in a wide receiver spot just to give you some flexibility. But that being said, I would probably take Chuba against the Saints.
Coach?
I think I'm going Chuba too.
Chuba for me as well, as sad as that is to say, but Chuba's played well, and I don't know what the Panthers are going to do. I feel like they're going to hand it off 150 times, maybe. I don't know. We'll see. Victor says he got offered Jamar Chase for CMC and Jaden Reed. Coach, are you taking that deal?
Yes.
There you go. Tyler?
Yeah, I think so.
Yes, for me as well. Give me Jamar Chase. His whole team is Josh Allen, Bo Nix, CMC, J.K. Dobbins. He's got Cook, Garindo, Drake London, Shakir, DJ Moore, Reed, Hopkins. Yeah, this solidifies it for me. Give me Jamar Chase here.
Yep.
I like that deal for you. Next question here says, my offer was DJ Moore. Right now is Deontay and Tillman. Also has Brian Thomas Jr. for Devonta. Right now, this is the one I want to know what y'all think about. Either of these deals intrigue you, Coach?
I would rather have DJ Moore, to be honest.
Okay.
I'm making that deal for DJ Moore.
Does Brian Thomas Jr. for Devontae interest you at all?
Redraft, yes, it does. Absolutely. Dynasty,
Okay.
No way.
Tyler, what about you? The DJ Moore trade, are you doing that one?
No, I'm holding on to DJ there.
Okay. Well, he's offering 4 DJ. So he'd get DJ.
Yeah. Oh, well, Yeah, I'd go get DJ then. That's fine.
Okay. And then the Brian Thomas Jr. one.
I'm with Coach there. Redraft, I would take Devontae. Dynasty, I'd stay with BTJ.
I think for me, I'm going to roll with DJ Moore. And then on the other one, I'm going to roll with Brian Thomas Jr., regardless of whether it's redraft or dynasty. I think Brian Thomas Jr. is that good. So I expect big things from him to continue once he can get healthy. So he might miss this week. We'll just have to see. Pete says, hello, Pete. Hello, Pete. We are glad you've been here. Really good to see you. I need you to go and roast Coach a little bit for me. He has been on one tonight, just roasting the crap out of me. So give him hell. Last question, guys. So traded Kyron for CD. CD has an elite playoff schedule. Now has Caleb Williams, CD, Nico when healthy, but Brian Thomas Jr. for now, Bijan, K9, Kelsey, and Dobbins, 12-man PPR. How are we feeling about this team, Tyler?
I really like it. You got CD out of it. You'll have CD and Nico. You still have Brian Thomas Jr. and you still have Bijan and Kenneth Walker as well as your running back. So I like it.
Coach?
Yeah, I love it. Great. Love it. Love this team. I wish this was my team.
There you have it. You've got a great team, my friend, so keep that team if you can. But that's going to do it for us, guys. We appreciate everyone who tuned in, so please be sure to like the stream if you're still here. Follow us over on X at the FF Mediators. Subscribe to the YouTube at the FF Mediators. And, of course, we appreciate you for being here on the Face Off Sports Network. Be sure to give them a follow and a subscribe. We are here every single Wednesday at 8:30 Eastern answering your questions. We've also got some heat checks we're putting out there. So if you've got a player, let us know in the comments below, and we will put out a video for them. We appreciate everyone for being here. We'll catch you next time.